Okay, so we're going to review finance. So at the top there are all the formulas that we used in this chapter. If we're talking about simple interest, with simple interest, the interest is calculated only once at the end. And so you just have to do one calculation using the principal times rate times time formula. So the rate must be written as a decimal, and the time is time in years. Then we had compound interest, and we had a different formula. Amount equals principal times 1 plus I to the power n. So P is the principal, I is the interest rate as a decimal per compounding period, and n is the total number of compounding periods. And then we saw that sometimes interest can be calculated daily, which is 365 times a year, weekly, which is 52 times a year, and so on. Looking at example 1, Anne Marie's bank charges $5 a month for managing her account. She gets 10 free transactions. Each additional transaction is 50 cents. If she uses an ATM that does not belong to her bank, she gets charged an additional $1.50. Last month, she had 13 transactions and used another bank's ATM twice. What was her bank charge in total? So the first thing is that she's charged $5 a month. So we have to put that in there first. And with that, she gets 10 free transactions. But this month, she had 3 additional because she had 13 transactions. And each transaction is 50 cents. So the 3 additional transactions will be 50 cents. Also, she used another bank's ATM twice. And for that, it's an extra $1.50 every time. So you've got the $5 plus $1.50 for the 3 additional transactions, plus $3 for the 2 times that she used at different banks ATM, which gives us a total of $9.50. So that would be her bank fee for that month. Right, so we spent, I think, the first day looking at banking and fees and those sorts of things. Example 2 says Isabel invested $3,000 into an account that pays 3.25% simple interest. So as soon as you see that word simple interest, that means you're using the simple interest formula. Interest equals principal times rate times time. It's only one calculation at the end of the term. So the principal is $3,000. The rate, which is 3.25%, must be written as a decimal. Remember, percent means a number out of 100, so you need to divide the 3.25 by 100. And t, the time, is in years, which in this case we are told 5 years. So we need to multiply those 3 numbers together. 3,000 times 0.0325 times 5. So there's the interest, $487.50, which is what we were asked to find. How much interest did she make on that investment? Example 3 says, how much money would Kevin need to invest to earn $500 in interest from an account that pays 2% simple interest per annum in 2 years? So per annum means per year. And again, because we're told it's simple interest, we have to use the simple interest formula. Interest equals principal times rate times time. In this case, we're told that he wants to earn $500 in interest. We want to know how much money would he need to invest. So what is the principal that needs to be invested in this case? The rate R is 2%, which needs to be written as a decimal, 0.02, times the time, which would be 2 years. In this case, we need to calculate what the principal is, how much would need to be invested. So on the right side, we can multiply the 0.02 by 2, and that gives us 0.04. So P times 0.04, which we need to divide both sides by now to get P by itself. So on the right side, the 0.04 is cancel, and we'll have P by itself. And on the left side, we need to divide 500 by the 0.04. So $12,500 is how much he would have to invest if he wants to earn $500 interest in 2 years from that account. Right, so we did both types of questions where you are trying to find the interest and where you're given the interest and you want to find either the principal rate or the time. Now these next ones, it says it's compounded. Lucille invests $2,500 into an account that pays 3.5% interest per annum, and it's compounded annually. How much is the investment worth after 2 years? So it's compound interest. So we have to use, actually, it's amount equals principal times 1 plus I to the power n. That's the formula. So P, the principal, is 2,500. And in this case, the interest is 3.5% per annum, which means per year, and it's compounded annually, which means we're going to use the 0.035. If it was compounded semi-annually, we would have had to divide that by 2, but it's not. It's compounded annually. So this is going to be calculated once a year for 2 years. It's going to be calculated twice. So that's what n is, because it's compounded once a year for 2 years. So if you add those numbers together inside the bracket, it'll be 1.035 to the power 2, and you can do this in your calculator all in one step. And that's how much the investment is worth after 2 years, $2678.06. That's what it's worth. Part B wants to know how much interest she earned. Well, that would be the difference between what she has and what she started with. She started with $2,500. She ended up with more after 2 years because of the interest. So if you subtract those two, that's how much she made in interest, $178.06. And this is why people invest in different accounts at the bank so that they can get interest. Number 4, Lillian invested $5,000 into an account that pays 2.4% interest, but this one is compounded monthly. How much is her investment worth after 5 years? So as soon as we see it's compound interest, we know we have to use this formula. Amount is principal times I plus 1 plus I to the power n. So I'm going to write all my amounts out this time. P, the principal, what you start with is $5,000. To calculate I, it's 2.4% per year, which as a decimal is 0.024, but this is compounded monthly, so you have to divide that by 12 to get the monthly interest rate. So 0.024 divided by 12 is 0.002. That would be the value of I that we would use in our formula. N, in this case, it's compounded monthly, which is 12 times a year for 5 years. 12 times 5 is 60. The interest is going to be calculated 60 times. So those are the values that we need to put in our formula. Our principal is 5,000 times 1 plus 0.002. That'll be 1.002 because it's 1 plus I. And we found n to be 60. The interest is going to be calculated monthly, which is 12 times a year for 5 years. 12 times 5 is 60. So again, I can put this in my calculator all in one step, and we'll get our answer. 5636.81 when you round to the nearest cent. Right, so that is how much the investment would be worth after 5 years. Brian's has a monthly income of $34.50. His expenses are listed below. Does Brian have a surplus or a deficit? So is he making more money than he's spending, or is he spending more money than he's making? So the first thing you would need to do is add up all of his expenses, which will give you $3,090 if you add them all up. And that is less than what his income is. So in this case here, he would have a surplus. And if you wanted to find the amount of surplus, you would subtract those two. How much he makes every month minus what he spends. So if we do that, $34.50 minus $3,090, the difference is $360. That is the amount of Brian's monthly surplus. That's how much extra he has at the end of every month. And so maybe he adds another category for savings, right? He can take some of that money for sure and put it into savings for a rainy day. Number 7 says Holly got a loan from a bank to buy a new holiday trailer. She borrowed $22,000 and her payments are $425.32 a month for 5 years. So you're given the monthly payments. You're told that she's making them for 5 years. So the amount that she will pay for her holiday trailer can be found by multiplying her monthly payment times 12 times a year, because it's monthly, there's 12 months in a year, times 5 years. If we multiply those three numbers together, this will give us how much she paid in total for her trailer. So $425.32 a month times 12 times a year times 5 years gives us $25,519.20. Now, she only borrowed $22,000. The amount she paid back is much more than that. The difference is the interest. So to calculate the amount of the interest, we would have to subtract how much she paid minus how much she actually borrowed. $25,519.20 is what she actually paid, minus what she borrowed, which is $22,000. The difference would be $3,519.20. That is the interest. So whether she borrowed that money from a bank or some finance company, this is how they make their money. They lend money to people to buy things, and they charge interest on that. That's how they make their money. Okay, so those were the main parts of our finance chapter that we did. I've got an assignment for you to work on. I will post the solutions to Google Classroom so you can check your answers. Remember, next Thursday is the last day to hand in any missing assignments, right? And also remember that your final exam is scheduled for next Thursday in the afternoon from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. It's not on the exam schedule. You guys have to write yours early because I'm gone the last week in January. So if you have your mark at 75 or greater, you don't have to write it. But if you have missing assignments and you don't hand them in, it's going to bring your mark down. So it would be a good idea to get all your missing assignments in before Thursday, so you know whether you're writing your test or not, if you're close to 75. Okay, so again, I'll post the solutions to this assignment so you can check your answers online.